Hello, it's Tam of the Tam BOTC channel, and also I want to give thanks to the people that have the footage being used for this video. So you can see one of them, you'll see more as we go, and they will be put at the end of the video, and you can go to their channel and subscribe. Also, warning for blood and violence, there will be like a couple of things shown that won't be suitable for children or people who are a little woozy in the stomach. So anyways, this is my Evil Within 2 review. So as you can see, let's start off. We got MK Ice and Fire here, showing us kind of a little bit of the open world area. Not too much, not to give too much away, but you do have open world kind of locations, and you definitely want to go around scavenge enough for loot and other healing items, weapons, crafting items, and so on. It will definitely help in your advantage against enemies as well as the enemies throughout the world itself. Previous problems that it needed to fix, it definitely did, such as the axe can be used for breaking other items, but it's still one-time use item, but I find that using the knife whenever you can is pretty cool. And you also got, of course, your little map there. There will be different locations that will show up. Other fixes is I did feel like the camera was definitely worked on much better. The environments and the graphics are definitely an improvement, but I feel the graphics are probably you expect it to be better than the first game, but it's definitely feels like it would age within a couple of years or so. But it suits its purpose. The world is dark and gory in its own ways, and I did get a lot of striking resemblance to Silent Hill moments and kind of Resident Evil vibes. You can scavenge through many different items. It shows here a barrel and there'll be a dead body that he goes up to pick up some ammo from. And loot's all over, and it's easy to see with it just glowing there. So the environment's great, and it's definitely scares that rely more on tension and build-up. But you've got new creatures like these crazy guys here, found very tense. And you're definitely a vulnerable character and feel more vulnerable. I felt the stamina also was worked in a little better in this game, and there's a lot of pack and punch to your weapons too. They feel great. You got your rotation wheel. There are a lot of similarities, of course, to be expected to the first Evil Within, but I felt they fixed a lot of the camera work. Your character definitely does feel still a little tankish, but I felt it was more used to. I got more used to it at least, and I found certain other aspects that I will touch on later to be fixed too as we go on. But yeah, it's really cool. There's a lot of great collectibles in the world too. Similar to the ones of the first game, you also got these projector slides that help towards the lore, these ghostly images you'll find in the world, a cat that finds items sometimes for you, and it's pretty cool. But it extends the lore, and I didn't really like how they kind of pushed it as like the lore was a giant thing, but I can give it a little leeway here and there, just because of how like Shinji Mikami and such talked about it. I didn't really care how they were like really hyping it up with that, so a little bit too much hype. But I wish the graphics could be a little better. I'm not saying they're awful, they're definitely better in their own way. Of course, you've got your own safe houses, you can drink a cup of coffee to heal, and you can interact with different characters, making this world feel a little more alive, and talk to them in these conversational setups. And of course, here you're seeing the crafting system. There's also an upgrade weapon system. It's basically the same stuff you see in the first game if you have played the first game. And it does do a slightly better job of telling a story, a straight-through story, as well as keeping a lot of the other stuff that we've known of the first game kind of as another aspect to the storytelling going on in the background, as it covers up things, and I feel, and of course it does come to the foreground too, but I did feel like they did much better with how their storytelling was set up. And don't expect too much from the conversations, but it's still a great little touch to have. There's these sections with this place called the Morrow, and it's a pretty creepy little location. Underground, there's more to it, but there's these gas areas that remind me of Splinter Cell where you can't shoot your gun, or the place will explode, where like there was a gas leak section. Similar here, as well as other like these gassy, weird, creepy little creatures you'll run into that you want to avoid. So you can't really use your guns down here, but you can stealth kill, and I found stealth much more purposeful and fun in this game than it was in the other, and there are different stealth kills, unlike Mafia 3, which had pretty much the same kind of kill every time. Animations work for what they are. They definitely do their job. And the stealth works much better. I didn't see stuff like hiding in lockers, but there's definitely bottle throws, which I find more useful in this game than the previous. Didn't always find myself running and gunning, and it was good and useful. There's definitely put up to your survival tactics when playing this game. This area alone reminded me of Outlast, speaking of which. Just the tunnel system where you run into the big brutish guy, I can't remember his name, sorry. And you'll definitely remember the characters, by the way, in this game. They're all living, breathing characters, most of them. I mean, your main character feels like he's trying to compete for Clint Eastwood of the Year. No. But yeah, they were all much better this time. I did feel like some of the acting was a little corny here and there, but for the most part, it worked much better in this game, and I got to know and like the characters much better. We're seeing a creature here now. Also, there's the breakable statues. You'll see one before this clip ends. And they're a return from the first game where you break them and you get a key, and you have the same locker system that you can open up lockers and get random loot. At least this game doesn't follow a lot of the bad microtransaction or other business practices, other than the weird pre-order bonus that other games and trends follow. There are some jump scares, as you saw there, but they're not a big part of what they wanted to get at. And of course, we've got the cutscenes, which are beautifully done, but there are a few rendering issues you will see in some of the scenes. But there's some creepy, disturbing scenes, and scenes that reminded me kind of Silent Hill and Resident Evil as well. But I felt they did a much better job here, in that it felt like it's kind of old thing. But at the same time, like I said in my previous video that I made, that hit 40 views, which was crazy. I said the game still has a little bit of it's still got its own charm to it, but it's like you can tell it's Evil Within from other games, but it's something about the game just has a loss of identity and feels too much like it's trying to be Silent Hill and Resident Evil at the same time. So it's kind of disappointing there when you look at it. You can see there's the texture pop-ins, and this scene reminded me of the Resident Evil 7 or even Texas Chainsaw Massacre food scene. To be honest, guys, I actually did not like the Texas Chainsaw movie. I thought it was really stupid. Sorry to tell you that. Everybody's gonna kill me now. No, but I never really got into that movie. Thought it was silly and dumb. I have more to why, but yeah. And of course there are other graphical errors that will happen in the game, weird little things here and there, but nothing major, nothing we haven't seen in other games perform or have. So far the game has performed well, but it has crashed before, and I've seen other people have the game crash, but it's not as bad as, say, No Man's Sky. I didn't really find the creatures super scary. I mean, there's a few creepy creatures with like the new ones that you get to see, but for the regular enemies they just feel like glowing eye zombies. And they got even the little what you're about to see here, kind of tentacle design that comes out of their head, similar to that of Resident Evil. Not saying that they're copying, but it's not Resident Evil, so what would that say for it? It's Evil Within. So once again, I don't want to contradict myself, because the person I talked about his video on, I talked mostly because he said that someone copied this guy, Shinji Mikami's work, or Tango Studios in general. Besides that, also I want to let you guys know that we have creepy music playing in the background. Hopefully it is not too loud over my voice and that I'm not too loud over it and it's just right. Let me know in the comments below if there are any problems with the video. Also, of course, we got here some creepy bosses. I found this one was pretty disturbing. And there are some really great moments in this game too, especially with the bosses themselves. But I did find a couple of bosses kind of recycled, and spoiler alert, there's a few old faces you're gonna run into. So yeah, sadly there's a few problems here and there, but I did feel like very Dark Souls when I approached these bosses. I'm like using every game just to describe this. But I really did feel that way. You've got, of course, the weird aspects to the game do work in some cases, where others it's, whatever. But it definitely was much creepier than the first game. I wasn't super afraid of this game. It didn't put me on edge as much, but I definitely can see this game putting people more on edge than the first game. The other thing I do want to briefly say is I find it funny whenever somebody says, wow, this game is weird and it's bizarre and out of this world. This monster in particular reminds me of Silent Hill. But, very much so, I find it weird that, like, whenever somebody's like, this game's really weird, it'll mess with your head, and I just think to myself, have you ever played a Silent Hill or Eternal Darkness game? Do you know those exist? Because this isn't the weirdest it can get. There's even Alice in Wonderland games that are like horrors that are weird. And that's supposed to be weird in the first place because it's like all drug oriented. You're high and everything in this weird world. Here's a cool little monster here. I like the designs of the monsters in this game. They're pretty awesome. I won't spoil much. You'll only see like a couple of these, and you'll probably get to these guys anyways, as most of them are just beginning bosses that I've been showing. So don't worry for spoilers. And they're going to be really brief anyway. So I did feel the story did do much better this time around and definitely got me engaged. With the dialogue, the characters, and gathering more information and lore on a story and world. You are seeing more of the upgrades. If you haven't gotten a very good look at that, it's definitely useful, and I felt like they had more of an impact in this game than the first game. Of course, you have some features, and they don't have the black bars. That definitely make the game more enjoyable experience than it was before. So, it's definitely all around sounds great, but it isn't without its flaws. You can find your reports and so on in the game, which add to the lore and the world, kind of like the first game. It's pretty cool. So, yeah, I had a few problems here and there. I did talk a little bit about them, but I felt it was overall pretty decent with when it came to it. You do have these puzzles, and I did find there's a shooting range or shooting gallery set up that reminds me of Dead Spaces. There's also puzzles, like there's this weird wave effect puzzle that reminds me of Splinter Cell Chaos Theory of all things, hacking puzzle minigame, where it has the same wave effect and you have to link them together. It's pretty cool, and I found it really interesting. You'll definitely find a lot of collectibles and loot. I remember seeing the Dishonored mask is in this game, Corvo's mask, I believe. So you'll have some Bethesda Easter eggs and such. That'll be pretty cool. And you can pick them up yourself. So there's a lot to do, and you'll definitely feel like you want to be a completionist in this game. So, have a great time with all of that. And of course we got what I made fun of as to rip off Silent Hill Nurse. I already made fun of her before, but when it comes to it, she'd served a purpose that was much better, and I felt like she didn't take up too much of your time. There's the lockers on the side there, the left side, as you can see. But she goes into the healing the upgrades in level tree that you're about to see, or level trees I should say, which definitely add an effect to your character in ways that feel like they actually do have an effect, where the first game I didn't really see much. Of course, your stamina you must consume, but it's not that bad in this game, because your character would just suddenly stop in the first one. But I found a lot more things fixed from what the first game did that I had problems with originally, and I found they did a great job. Of course, Return of Green Gel, but there's a new Red Gel that unlocks towards even better items and such. There's a lot of things you can do with the environments too that definitely add to anything. So the unlockables and key items are just random loot, green gel and red gel, and so on that you'll find in the world. So my final thoughts, it's definitely without its flaws, the recycled bosses, the just straight up grossness, and it didn't scare me as much as other horror games this year, or previous years, but it's definitely better than what we have, and we probably won't have a third-person horror game for a while. So I give this, as well as the other problems I went about, like of course there's some glitches, the game has crashed before, I've seen it for other people, not really for me, but it's still pretty cool. And of course this is coming October 13th, ironically. I give this game a rating for this is a rating for of course, the rating that I'm giving, the first rating I'm giving for for a recommendation of other people is a 7.9 out of 10. A rating for me is an 8 out of 10. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Leave your comments below, and I will see you guys on the next video. I hope you did definitely enjoy this review. Tell me if there were any problems, any mistakes, or anything you came across or noticed during the video, or if the sound was interrupting with one another, whether it was the game sound or the audio to my microphone and the commentary in which was being delivered. I thank you very much, and I hope I covered enough in this game, as it was quite a chore to cover, but at least this game wasn't as much chore as the first one. Goodbye, guys, and see you next time.